really. The New York State Department of Taxation and Finance provides a mechanism for property tax relief for qualifying veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces on their residential property should any county, city, town, or village opt into providing the exemption. School districts also have the option to offer the alternative veterans and Cold War veterans exemption. A public hearing in advance of any resolution is required pursuant to real property tax law section 458(1)(3). The governing body of a school district in which such property is located, the local legislative body may, after public hearings, adopt a local law, ordinance, or resolution providing for an exemption for local school purposes. And then I'll just go through a little bit of the details here. In general, qualifying wartime veterans property receives an exemption of 50% of its assessed value. In addition, the 10% exemption is available where a veteran can document service in a combat theater or zone. According to the Essex County Real Property Tax Services, there are currently 169 parcels within the Lake Placid School District that have alternative veterans exemptions. In May of 2023, the district conducted an exit poll during the annual budget vote in an effort to gauge the community support for the school to opt into the veterans exemption for qualifying residents. The results of the exit poll were as follows. Lake Placid voted in favor 194 to 40. Wilmington voters voted in favor 45 to 3. So that's a total of 85% in favor. Should I go through the nitty-gritty details?
That's just the granular stuff,
yeah,
for anyone who's.
For more details.
I think most of these people here are for the firefighters, the volunteer firefighters one. Am I correct? Yeah.
All right. Well, I will open the floor. We'll go through the motions here. Open the floor to public comment on the veterans exemption.
I think it's a good idea.
All right. Here we go. Perfect. I'll write that down. Good idea. And just so everybody knows, these will be voted on at a later board meeting once all the details are managed. Any other comment on the veterans exemption? All right, we will move along then. Let's see, make sure that I get all my things done. I will then close this hearing and we'll move on to the next hearing. So the next hearing is open, the volunteer firefighter and ambulance workers exemption. Let me just read through the details here. The New York State Department of, I might just rewrite. All right, same thing as for the veterans thing, but I'll just get to the details there.
Perfect.
Ditto. Yeah, ditto. Yeah. So this is the public hearing that is required in advance of any resolution pursuant to the real property tax law section 466A. Real property owned by an enrolled member of an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire department, or incorporated voluntary ambulance service, or such enrolled member and spouse residing in any county shall be exempt from taxation to the extent of up to 10% of the assessed value of such property for city, village, town, park, town, special district, school district, fire district, for county purposes, exclusive of special assessments, providing the governing body of the city, village, town, school district, fire district, or county after public hearing adopts the law, ordinance, or resolution providing therefore. In general, a qualifying firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker can receive up to 10% of their assessed home's value. In May, we had the same exit poll. Lake Placid voted in favor of the resolution 181 to 51. Wilmington voters supported it 46 to 2, a total of 77% in support. I will now open, I guess I'll just open it to comments. So I will now open the floor to any public comment.
Go ahead. So I have a question before, excuse me, a question before we start. When you read about the veterans, this is just property tax, right?
Correct.
It's nothing to do with the school tax.
No, this is a school tax that's based on your property.
Based on the property tax.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Charlie Terry, for anybody who doesn't know me, I've been a member of Wilmington for 44 years as a volunteer. We fully support this. We have, I don't know, you might have the numbers there, you had them for the veterans, but I think we've only got maybe 15 members that actually own their house. So it's not gonna be a lot of money. Somebody like me, it would be a nice break because, you know, retired but no, it's not gonna cost you a lot of money out of your budget for sure. From the Wilmington side, Mike's got numbers, so I'll let him talk about Lake Placid, but yeah, Wilmington, we're fully behind this.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
My name is Mike St. Louis. I'm the fire chief of Lake Placid. I also have with me Jen Perry, who was assistant chief, Leanne Colby, who was also an officer captain, and then Jerry Straka, 65-year member of the department. I know I have 45. Leanne, how many years do you have now? Well over 25. Well over 20. And Jen's got 10. So we're obviously in favor of this. We're pretty busy, if you don't know. Last year we had a total of 338 calls. We're up to 241 this year already. We average about an hour and a half to 2 hours a call, so we're up to almost 500 hours just doing fire calls. We have monthly meetings, we have council member meetings, we have training, 2 hours every single month. That's another 75 hours. We have a total of 38 members now. We used to be a 60-member charter, and we're down to 38. And out of those 38, we have 9 which are fire police. We have 3 which are auxiliary. And we're fortunate enough that we have 20 interior firefighters. We have 20 exterior firefighters. So it's hard today to recruit people. We try. You know, when you become a new member, the first thing you got to do is go to school for depot, and that's 120 hours just to be an exterior firefighter. And then there's another 80 hours on top of that to become an interior firefighter. So you're talking 200 hours. So it's a lot of commitment, and a lot of times the schools aren't around here. The last class we did for IFO, we sent 3 of our firemen to Westville. So the classes started at 6:30, they left at 5, got home at 11:30. And that's 120 hours. You can do the math. So it takes a lot of time away from family and friends and meetings and going to picnics and all that kind of stuff. And we're fully in support of this thing because it's almost not like another little recruitment tool for us. Hey, by the way, please come join, you know, and if you own a house, you know, you can, hopefully the board will pass to get somewhat of a tax break. In our department, we only have 18 people that would be eligible for the taxing under the school taxes. But we're very much in favor of it, and hopefully you guys will see it that way and help us with that. Leanne, you anything you'd like to say?
The only thing I would like to say is I did attend an hour-long Zoom meeting that FASD provided based on this legislation. And correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody has heard differently. Can you hear me? Sorry. Whatever, so you're not losing money out of your budget. Say your budget's 20,
Correct.
right? It's spread out among the other taxpayers, which, and I get the concern. You know, just personal experience. If my mother-in-law said she had, you know, had to pay $5 more in taxes in this town, she'd probably have a nervous breakdown. So I understand it, but we did play with some figures, and I did it like based on what I pay in taxes multiplied by our 18 members divided by your 4,000 or 4,500 taxpayers or actual property, you know, and it could be more. That number could be wrong. It's $5. So I did crunch some numbers, and I know other towns, and FASD recommended this, that there are accountants or mathematicians out there that will tell you exactly how much it's going to be, you know, per taxpayer, for your breakdown. But they would need those numbers, I would assume, from the village. And
Danny could do that. It's less than $5.
yeah, I
Yeah,
believe it is.
a lot
Yeah.
We send out over 8,000 tax bills
Yeah.
every year.
Okay. Yep.
So
So
It's
I'm not
based on
so far off.
assessments. Some
Okay.
assessments are very high,
All right.
some are low, so it's significantly less than $5.
Okay.
And I think that the exit poll showed that it was overwhelmingly in favor.
And
So-
if they're mad, tell them the district do it, they're mad at me already, so.
The bottom line is a deal for you, because you get 24-hour protection, 365 days a year, and no
Can't beat
downtime.
that.
Well,
Good deal.
and it, Mike hit on it, it's a volunteer, trying to entice them to come in.
Right.
Volunteers do not exist anymore.
Yep.
Cliff is 20 years, he's one of our new members.
Not for 20 years.
Do they still?
long
harass
hazing
you about
process.
being
Well, absolutely.
They're still rookie. Excellent, okay.
Can I pose a question to the group? Well,
Sure.
got a lot of. So we've had some dialogue with the village and the town, and I know that there's interest on their level in, fleshing out something similarly here. It just appears that we may be out in front a little bit. And certainly for consistency's sake, it would be good if in the event the school, the town, and the village all go in this direction, which would be certainly an honor of all your service, that the number of years whereby someone is eligible for service would be consistent across the board. And it's so right now, each governing body can decide in its formation of this exemption if any time period between 2 to 5 years is sufficient eligibility for this. So I don't know a lot about this, but if you have any initial thoughts as a group, or in the next 30 days as the board ponders this, if you have thoughts about would a 2-year period or more be an enticement for people, but it could also create more churn in your organization as a result, or is 5 years of service more productive perhaps because people have established themselves? So you can go either way, I suppose.
I think that the more important part is the activeness. It's not so much the years. Like, is someone making 10% of stuff or they doing 90%? That's my personal feeling.
And it would be up to the
Because anybody
chief
can get
to,
a code.
And if they're up
call
to 2,
themselves.
then no, if they're 2%, then we're not gonna consider that.
yeah, because you have bylaws that talk about like maintaining your quotas. and things.
Exactly, but we also, like Cliff just said, we have people that make their minimum requirements, and then we have people that make above and beyond. And, that's always been an issue. They're getting the same T-shirt and hat that the guy that puts, 90% of the time.
Sure.
Yeah, and the 2 to 5 years, it's tough to say, hey, someone come in a department, they in turn buy a house here, and then say, oh, by the way, you gotta stay here 5 years before you get that tax break.
It could be as low as 2, as you're saying.
That's right, as low as 2 or as high as 5, depending on what
So
this
with
board
2-year
elects to do.
eligibility, make it easy to recruit people.
Of course, when it comes, if it comes to this issue on
Obviously.
itself, absolutely,
Of course,
a lot better than 5.
of course it does.
And at least the rookie will qualify, so.
Yeah.
Only by 18 years though.
But they also have to stay in the department to keep all of them.
But it also takes them about a year and a half to complete the requirements, to do all this stuff, plus they're on a 6-month probation anyways. And so that 2 years would be a great number compared to 5 years.
Well, in my dialogue with the town and the village, I'll be sure to put forth that message to promote that consistency. So,
Yeah.
But that also comes with a member in good standing too. Like
Absolutely.
every department has requirements of who's in good standing, your physical requirements, your training requirements, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that would be an important thing too as well. Again, I'm a member, but I always try to make sure I have all my stuff in line so that I can bring that to the department. I think that needs to be part of the favor too, as far as you're making all your
Yeah, and I
requirements.
think we would rely on the departments to
It
provide
would
the
be the
active.
chief today
With the
Yeah.
numbers.
Yep.
to certify who is available.
We have some
absolutely.
situations where we have husbands and wives, so they're only
And it would only be one.
allowed for the one, not
Right.
both. So that would make that, number might go down a little bit. And out of the 18 today, I took the 2 married couples that were in the department and I only gave them 1, so it would have been 20, but now it's 18.
No, that's great information. Good to know.
But we would have all the numbers, number of good standing, and all that kind of stuff, for sure. Jen, you got anything?
The only thing that I would add is that, as we all know, we are seeing people leave because they can't afford to live here. So not only would it be for recruitment, retention for our department, but also maybe an incentive for people to stay, to keep our community here.
There's a lot of commitment. I know you guys have a lot of commitment here, but And, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, when everybody else is home in bed, we're out, take care of that stuff, the snowstorms and the power outages and, when the buildings are on fire, everybody's running out, we're running in. Not to try to boost anything, but we do this because we want to do this. And we don't make any money at it. We spend money, a lot of money, with the price of gas now. I guess it's like $4.10 a gallon now, so.
And we've made it understood. Volunteer is the key word. Paid employees are not eligible.
Right.
Thank you guys. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Thank you.
So this will be in the first September meeting.
The September 15th meeting,
September 15th meeting is when we'll be voting on both of these
or
resolutions.
22nd, pardon me, sorry.
Sorry, 22nd.
Isn't that right?
Ask Karen when it's gonna be.
Karen will let us know.
Carry the one.
That was
Yeah.
not the right date.
I did get slapped.
Buck stops at the end of the day.
That's like the 19th.
It is the 19th, there you go.
Yeah.
What?
So many
Sometime in
numbers flying around. The
September.
5th and the 19th.
The 15th, the 19th.
That's right.
Second meeting.
That's
We,
okay. We
so-
work like that too.
We will put it out with our release, or the release about the meeting. It'll be noted. So we will try to make sure that we contact the departments.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
everyone.
it. Thank you very
All
much.
right, any other comments? Then we will move on to our regularly scheduled programming. You guys want to stay for that too? Sorry, we got.
I appreciate what you do. I really appreciate what you do, but no.
We appreciate you guys as well. Thank you very much for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
All right. So. We'll now call to order the regular meeting. First item of business is pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So first, our next item is the consent agenda. All right, let's start with that. So try to do that before we got all the excitement. The recommended action approve the following, the items below, which are included in the consent agenda: 9A minutes, 11C club approvals, 11D textbook approval, 11E textbook approval, 11F NISBA annual convention approval, and 11H special education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ron. Do I have a second?
Second.
Give that one to Douglas. Okay. Any discussion? Changes? If not, please vote.
John, did it pop up for you?
Yes, it did.
Oh, perfect.
Took me a while to read. Yes, no.
It's six, yes.
All right, thank
It'll
you.
get
everyone.
faster as I go.
You're just warming up. Next item is for the good of the clock, for the good of the cause. I'll just read a brief statement here. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at the board meetings. To allow for public participation, a period not to exceed 30 minutes has been set aside at the beginning and the end of board meetings. As a general rule, the public participation will be limited to 5 minutes total per speaker. Anyone who wants to speak should state their name and sign the sheet. Comments should be general in nature and should not involve concerns regarding specific employees of the district, as the board has a separate protocol for these matters. This is protection for school employees to assure their due process rights in a public forum. Individuals wishing to raise specific concerns should follow the regulations outlined in policy 1400. Do we have any emails? I guess we'll start there.
We do not.
Do not. Is there anyone present who would like to speak?
No, I didn't write my name. I'm just here. I'm Erica Hyde, by the way. My
Hi.
kids are attending school in the district. I recently came back. I'll put my name on the sheet since I am speaking. I'm just here as an observer.
Okay.
The last board meeting I went to was for my daughter in in anticipation of full day kindergarten, if you can believe it, on Long Island. But I've come back to Lake Placid. I grew up here. My grandfather was the principal, a board member as well. So I just kind of wanted to get my toes in the water. Some of you may know me. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm at St. Agnes. I have a county contract as well. So I'm just kind of here as an observer. So
Excellent. Well, welcome and welcome back.
thank you.
So you're Miss Erica.
I miss Erica.
Alright.
I miss Erica.
All right.
I saw all your toys.
I
I miss Colleen.
I recognize your name. I
Yeah.
actually saw Trish today too.
Yeah,
So she-
yeah.
yeah. It's so funny. Thank you. And I will sign after.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
So the next section is information for the public. Is that old?
This is fresh.
This is fresh. Okay. So I'll read this, and this is in response to some of the concerns that were raised about school functions. The Lake Placid School District makes every effort to be welcoming and inclusive, and a welcoming and inclusive institution. I need to zoom in a little bit here so I can see. As a community school, we design and implement a variety of events just for our students and the other events that may include the greater community. Middle school dances are designed to promote safety and a sense of team unity amongst middle school students enrolled in the district and are not open to non-enrolled students. Consideration is given for dances in the high school to include non-enrolled students from neighboring schools, provided that they are recommended by their educational institution and approved by the administration for participation. All right, so next up is our report section, which we'll start with the audit committee report, which I guess since Colleen's not here, that's me. They didn't have anything really to tell us. Everything looked good. So they said it was a pleasure working with Dana and his crew. So thank you, Dana, for all the hard work that you and your team does to make sure all of our books are in order and things make sense. So I guess we'll get, it's like later in October, November, we'll get the full audit report.
Yeah, they spent 2 full days here. I mean, now with uploading files, they can do a lot of the work from their offices in Middlebury. So yeah, they spent 2 full days. They actually spent 1 day in June to kind of go through. They do a testing where they just go through whatever
See how bad
purchase
of a
orders
mess
and
it's
all
gonna be.
that. And so yeah, they booked 3 days. Typically they're 2.5 days. So
Great.
We'll hear by the end of October.
Yeah, and he did say it seemed like it was, they were waiting on the stuff from the state and that was gonna take longer or something. Something having to do with the state.
Probably, at the end of the year, we submit all of our final reports for our federal grants.
Yeah.
So getting that in, I mean, it's a receivable, so we put it up because we know we're getting it. It's just a matter of when it comes in. And
yeah.
We also have the single audits that we've had to do. So we look at all the federal programs because we get over $750,000 from federal monies.
Right.
So we have to do the single audits.
But other than that, it was a good meeting. So that is that report. So that brings us to the policy committee report.
So the policy committee met on August 2nd. So thanks for Colleen for attending and Karen. This was the first meeting that we've had probably in a year. We had diverted a lot of our focus towards the strategic plan and some of the regulations. So it's good to get everyone back together. Just some highlights from the meeting. The membership of the committee midway through just the beginning of the meeting really identified the fact that members have been on that committee for so long, maybe parents, that we no longer have an educational elementary student representative on the committee, or parent, I should say. So my clarion call is going to be to try and get 1 or potentially 2 elementary parents to be on the policy committee. And it's any community member so willing. So at the start of the school year, I'll make sure to put something in the elementary newsletter welcoming parents to give their perspective. So there's plenty of things that would be beneficial in having an elementary perspective from the parents. And then we have some first read policies that come up on number 8 in the agenda, but just to give the board time to kind of reflect a little bit on what they'll be seeing in that first read. The following policies were looked at and recommendations were made. So the first has to do with policy 2342, agenda preparation and dissemination. And the nudge for us to make sure that this policy was modified came from NISBA with their push-out recommendations that this reflect the actual practices in the district in regards to disseminating the agenda to the community and to the board. So the previous policy indicated that someone had to notify the superintendent or board president within 10 days if they wanted to add something to a board meeting agenda. Our working practice is really, we have a 14-day turnaround typically, so we changed that to 14 days. And we also included that the board will receive their packet within 3 days of the meeting, which is our standard practice, receiving your information on Friday. So those were really all that was encompassed within that.
That's essentially just codifying what we do.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that way anyone can look at the policy and be like, if I want to engage with the board or bring a topic to the floor, what's the time frame by which I do that, basically. The next policy, policy 4327, has to do with homebound instruction. And so there are several circumstances whereby a student would be instructed at home. This policy dealt specifically with 2 cases. One of them has to do with an instance of a medical necessity. So a student who has some sort of medical fragility whereby they cannot attend school in person. And the other circumstance is a circumstance where a student has been disciplined and is removed from the general educational setting. The first thing that happened in the policy that was a shift is that the NISBA and the recommendations from the state are very clear that they want to see those 2 things divested, that they do not want to see this, the same procedure and policy writ large for a student who has a medical versus a student who has a disciplinary. They don't want to conflate those 2 things at all. The other pieces that are in there have to do with the mandated instructional hours that are to be presented to a student who is homebound. So previously, a student was guaranteed 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week. And the Board of Regents amended that last year to 3 hours. So now a student who is homebound instruction is guaranteed to receive 3 hours of tutoring support, 15 hours a week, unless their condition is such that they are unable to have that time. Parents can voluntarily work with the district to modify that amount into a lesser amount if there's good cause to do so. So those were, the updates with regards to the law for homebound instruction. Then we move on to something that is very timely, policy 4772, graduation and baccalaureate. Certainly regionally, we're one of the few districts that has a baccalaureate ceremony. And upon review of
Students have a baccalaureate.
That's right. That allows students the opportunity to vote by a majority to hold a baccalaureate. Thanks, Mr. Cash. It's good.
Just the important
Details matter in this
yeah.
regard. Absolutely. And so we codified that language and procedure so that concerns related to separation of church and state, knowing that these events may, if the students so elect by majority, occur in a place of worship, there's parameters whereby students do not feel in any manner coerced to participate if they do not wish, and that ultimately the event itself is agnostic, but for the presence of students voluntarily in a place of worship. So I think this language, the group felt very comfortable with it, which is in the policy. And I think it gives greater support to our students and flexibility to them that each class, when they're seniors, they can vote and decide how they best want to leave the district and recognize their achievements. And if that is a baccalaureate service, and they want that, great. And if it's something different, then they have the option to leverage that. So I think a timely opportunity for us with our first baccalaureate since COVID taking place this last year. Additional policy matters, just 1 or 2 more. Thanks for your patience. So policy 5500, student records. The long and short of this is that parents and students have a right to ensure that a student's data is protected. And the basically, there's some identifying information that is permissible to be shared, just so we can codify students and track them over the course of their educational careers. But educational law, Ed Law 2D, as it's called, that has been passed, and in order to implement it, we need to make sure that any program or software that we utilize for students has these protections in it, so that students' data is not mined and harvested and potentially used for nefarious purposes, essentially. So the student records policy is a way to codify that information. It comports with Ed Law 2D, and this speaks to policy 8635 as well, which is information and data privacy secretary breach and notification, whereby there's a process put in place in the event that a student's data is breached that we act upon. We have a data protection officer in the district, Tim Baker, our district technology coordinator, and he oversees the implementation of this policy, but this just now complies with the law and ensures protection for our students and their data, which is good. Policy 6700 addresses purchasing. Board members who served last year may recall we had a student presentation where students, staff posited to the board, would it be possible to add an amendment to our purchasing to eliminate the purchase of single-use plastic bottles to be more environmentally friendly, and meeting with the policy committee, engaging the interests of the board at that time. There was pretty evident support with regards to this. And on the purchasing side of the house, we don't feel it will materially impact our ability to operate as a district. And so purchasing policy now has an amendment that the district will make every possible effort to eliminate the purchase of single-use plastic. So that's great. And I think those are all of the policies that have been assessed. And so if there's any questions when we get to policy first reads with regards to those, certainly bring those to the fore, but otherwise that is policy committee report. Thank you. And thanks to Karen, a ton of work goes into managing these updates and directing the group.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us to the treasurer's report.
So this is the report for the month of June, end of June. Sir, our July treasury report is there, but quite done yet. But if you look at it, so our total balance as of June 30th, we had a little over $12.4 million in our bank accounts in various means, whether it was their operating funds, cash sweep, or the restricted reserves, which are basically savings accounts. We have started adding, this is Betsy, Smith, my deputy treasurer. That was a good idea to start adding the 9 class information there. That's where we currently hold all of our scholarship monies that we hold on to. But at the same time, we have started the process of moving our money out of the savings accounts and into the 9 class. So what you're going to see going forward is you will no longer see the EBLAR separate account, tax bursary reserve, unemployment reserve. Those are all savings accounts. We have moved all of those into specific 9 class accounts, as well as created a repair reserve account that was the $1 million, as well as we will be moving most of our insured cash sweep into the 9 class. What we had talked about a while ago, because of the rate of return is so much higher. Savings account we're getting maybe 1%. 9 class they're pushing 5%. It was one of the recommendations from the state auditors. So we have started that process, and that will become part of the treasury report going forward. Is 9 class will be considerably larger in amounts, because that's where we're going to store a lot of our excess cash. We'll still keep some money in the cash sweep, because we can get to that pretty quickly, so that for payroll and stuff like that. But 9 class, it's usually a 24-hour turnaround versus 2 clicks we can get it from the cash sweep. So, but the whole idea, the whole goal is to shift most of our excess cash into the 9 class system because of the higher rate of return. Cash receipts, you'll see, we brought in a little over $1 million for the month of June, and expensed a little over $2.7 million. But that is typical for this time of year. We typically bring in less than what we spend out because of how we generate our revenue. You know, most of our revenue, as you know, comes in the first couple months of the school year, and then we just work it down throughout the year as we pay our bills. All of a sudden, we are looking pretty healthy in our bank accounts.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dan? All right, superintendent's report. I mean, obviously, what you went over on your policy report will just deduct from this.
Redundant.
Understood, that's right. Yes. Objections, hearing none. All right, so just some highlights and, summer's, there's actually quite a bit going on, even though we're not in the typical cycle of things. But we've worked with the administrative and technology teams and have figured out a purchasing plan for our Chromebooks. So if you go back to the days of the pandemic sort of proliferating, the districts all over the place had to ensure that students had the remote capabilities of receiving instruction. And if a district didn't have one-to-one devices in every student's hands, then they scrambled to ensure that that took place. Well, here we are now, and we're approaching the 4 and 5 year mark after that time period, and the devices that students get, they just do not age well effectively. And so since my arrival, certainly, we've been very intentional about starting a tech purchasing cycle so that we can, ensure that students don't have a device for longer than 5 years. And this last summer, we spent some time looking at, we sort of piloted with our 9th grade class this year, and are doing it again this coming year, that they'll receive touchscreen Chromebooks in 9th grade and maintain them in the same device the duration of their high school career, and have the option to buy the device for a reasonable rate when they exit the district. But we still didn't necessarily have a cycle plan in place for our elementary and middle high school students. And simultaneously, we were piloting these touchscreen Chromebooks to see, is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak, the extra $100 per unit versus just the standard Chromebooks. Initially the ratings are in that the math department and the art department particularly see tremendous gains for our students in using these devices. It's almost like they intuitively know how to use touchscreens. Suffice to say, we're making purchases for a new 3rd grade and 6th grade set. So we're going to have 3 purchase cycles operating to ensure that our students maintain the best technology, which is outstanding. Took some time to come to that place. Easy to buy a whole bunch of things, but a little harder to stack the deck and manage what's getting recycled when. So that was helpful for the team. On the parent side of the house, if people are wondering, what does it look like on September 7th? Hopefully that date's right. When my student shows up, we have a back to school tab right on the webpage. So any information related to class supplies, teachers, bus information forms, all of those things are located in one easy shop. So encourage parents to visit the back to school tab on the website. All right, ooh, okay, 50% odds. We have our kickoff videos that have been finalized for the strategic plan. So the videos will launch at the 80 rink during the opening of school for staff on September 6th, and then will be published online thereafter. So I've had an opportunity to see the first videos, and they really do a great job of just shining a light on our district and the people who make it special. So I'll be anxious to share that with the board. Staff members are going to be receiving ongoing training this year with regards to how to apply artificial intelligence and leverage it in the classroom in unique ways. So we're partnering with the Northeast Regional Information Center and several districts downstate and Long Island to stay current on how we can utilize this technology, but also not end up in a Terminator 2 type situation. So hopefully that works out for us. Middle high first. That's right. Middle high school and elementary students are finalizing their summer school and extended school year this week. So the teachers who have been involved in that and the administrators overseeing those programs have done a fantastic job Students have gone on field trips, they've done engaging projects. So I'm just really proud of the work that our students, staff have put together. And then next week, we go from the extended school year and summer school to the enrichment phase of the summer, which is a new phase for us, and it's part of our community schools initiatives. So Mr. Clark has teamed up with a variety of staff members and is putting on not one, not two, but 3 different camps for our students. So we have a robotics camp for middle schoolers, where they'll be assembling robotic kits in consultation with Northwood at the Northwood Hub. We have a kindergarten camp for incoming students. So they'll have an opportunity to spend time with their new teacher and their new classes prior to the start of school. And we have a sports camp. And these are all sponsored and coordinated by community schools. We also have a middle school math camp as well. And our numbers writ large for all of these exceed 80 students. So
That's great.
we're killing it.
Yeah.
Really excited. Kudos to Mr. Clark for his coordination and ingenuity. And it takes a lot of people to make these things happen. Our transportation department is providing transportation for over 45 students to ensure that this can happen. Start looking at those details and you realize we weren't doing this. If we just said students can come if they want, we already would be losing half of the student base. So we're doing some good things. The staff who have been coming in the summer, who are 10-month employees, are really setting up the year for some exciting things. We have TCIS training that's been going on to ensure that our staff are able to deal with students in the event that they're escalating in their behaviors, their anxiety, their concerns. They have those de-escalation techniques. And one of the things that I've done here, and I'll try to do as we move forward, is in parentheses in my report, I've started to put where these different trainings or items that are taking place, where they fall in the strategic plan. So our strategic plan, which I'll get to shortly, has 3 target areas: well-being, academic excellence, and innovation. And so certainly this de-escalation work that we're doing with our students is in the furtherance of the well-being aspect of our education. So we're excited about that. We have science of reading training at the elementary school. So there was a literacy presentation to the board at the last meeting in June. And that has caught on like wildfire in our school. Very exciting. So we've had numerous participants, and I'm very pleased to say that once the board approves the purchase of a kindergarten curriculum that is based around the science of reading at this meeting, which I hope you'll consider that recommendation, that come this year, we will begin a track to have the kindergartners, and subsequently as they age in every class thereafter, be learning their literacy in ways that are comporting with the science of reading.
We did, it was a consent.
Good.
We already did it.
It's already done.
So
Consider that done.
look at that. All right, check it out. So really exciting work happening there, and that speaks to the academic excellence portion of the strategic plan. Our department leadership team met over the summer. We talked about how, just anecdotally, how are the members of the physical education department across the district going to put forth an initiative to solve a deficit they're seeing in our students' learning, and how are they going to show the value of that work at the end of the year to our colleagues. And this is a model that we've done. It'll be our 2nd year now, our celebrations of impact in May. We have roundtables, and all the other departments don't necessarily know what the other ones are doing over the course of the year. And then they all present to one another, and they realize that, I have some commonality with the special ed department at the middle high school, even though I'm part of the technology department. And, this coming year we can collaborate. And so that collaboration is a huge part of academic excellence that we're really excited about. I referenced to the board in the previous meeting that we are launching a diagnostic to assess our students' proficiency in math and in ELA, and it's called NWEA. That is taking place this year, and we have training for the administration of that this year. So that falls into our academic excellence. And I made a note in the previous meeting that as we get closer to data being generated, that we will bring in some sample reports for the board to see what parents and students and teachers see when this data is presented. So should be good. And that was a great suggestion on your part, Ryan. So kudos for that. STREAM program. So this is the 2nd year of our STREAM program, which is a pretty innovative program. And this team of teachers, they educate 9th and 10th grade students It's project-based learning, it's immersion into different environments. And a new spin on it this year is all of these students are having coordinated jobs, shadowing and or paid work into their school day. So really excited for that. Mr. Clark is coordinating that with the stream team, which is exciting. And they're also going to, because they're going to have so many of these field trips as part of their education, they're going to need wheels for this. And thankfully, we got a pretty sweet little ride in that I was able to walk in the other day. Is it our 9-seater, Dana?
Yeah, yeah.
Eight? Okay, well,
Yeah.
we can crunch together. So.
Yeah, it's like 14 total, and you really can do it. Yeah.
Well, anyways, our new minibus is here, and it's highly adaptable, and it's going to allow programs such as STREAM and the Woods program, which you may have recalled, their students immersed in the woods. They're going to be able to use that vehicle, and it does not require a CDL bearing bus driver. It just requires a teacher or a coach. So we are getting lean and mean, which is just what we want. We have an innovative technology grant that is being implemented. So directly behind the board is Mr. LaValle's tech workshop. And just to the side, he has now absorbed a second room, which will be dedicated exclusively to robotics. We have purchased a state-of-the-art plasma cutter, which is amazing. We have 3D printers. We're just cooking with gas with regards to that. So we're really excited. On the building and facility side of the house, Dana's been doing a great job meeting with our architects to conduct the building conditions survey. And the purpose of that, again, is to do a walkthrough of every piece of property that we own and assess the longevity of it and any recommendations for improvement so that we don't defer maintenance if at all possible. So we appreciate that work, and a report to the Buildings and Grounds Committee will generate thereafter, and then Douglas and Ryan, as members of that committee, will sit down with Dana, myself, and the architects and start dreaming about the simple duct tape fixes and the more complex things that may require some work down the road. Our weight room is coming together nicely. Our maintenance staff has done a tremendous job stripping out antiquity and doing it with grace. As of now, we're waiting for brand new flooring to be installed. The flooring is going to have the school bomber emblem on it. And then thereafter come all of the new machines. All of the machines have the bomber emblem on it. There's QR codes that students can scan, and it will show them how to use the machines. Our PE teachers and coaches, we're preparing training with them to ensure that they know how to teach our students how to utilize this new equipment. So great progress with regards to our facilities, which is exciting. I believe athletics is a priority for this region, if I don't recall, so this is excellent work on our part. I mentioned the robotics lab, which is great. I talked about the small bus, so that's my report.
Very good.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions or comments for Tim? I'll just add the videos for the strategic plan are recorded, shot, produced by Caleb Myhill, a recent graduate of the district.
And a member of the strategic plan core team, which is super cool.
And the new policy on the touchscreen Chromebooks has caused no small amount of joy for my 9th grader who can lord it over my senior. Does not get the new one, and she does. So she can't wait to lord that over him. So thank you for that opportunity for peace in my house. Excellent. All right. Next up is information for the board. You'll see some things about extracurriculars, also the middle school student handbook, and then there's also some stuff in executive content for your perusal there. Any questions that we can discuss? Keep on rolling. So next up, Tim, back to you for the strategic plan presentation.
All right. So those of you who have been on this ride since the onset, it's been over. It's just about 2 years now of planning to get to this point. And I found myself over the last several months alluding to this product, and starting to it's like did that summer camp girlfriend really exist kind of situation. I think now we can say with confidence our strategic plan is ready to rumble, which is great. So just to walk you through the plan, when family members see it, when community members see it, there'll be a letter from me introducing it. And then one quote from my letter I wanted to really just discuss that I think hones in the purpose and intent of what we're all trying to do here is that we aspire to achieve excellence in all areas, but especially in the realms of innovation, well-being, and academic excellence. So that's sort of our focus. And those focus areas were determined by surveying our students, our staff, our parents and community members, looking at our testing and attendance data over the past decade. So that's what came from that. This product ultimately is the work of a lot of people who donated their time and thoughts and ideas to this process. So our core team, they were really the nucleus that, kind of captured the spirit of what we as a school do and what we hope to be in the future. And those two priorities became our mission and our vision statements, things that we've slowly tried to roll out and we're really going to be going whole hog with soon at the start of the school year. So we had a wonderful parent and community representatives, staff members, students, former students. We had administrators, so a variety of people involved. And so you may recall that from this product, our vision statement now is that Lake Placid is united, engaged, and empowered. So the focus of the videos that the community is going to see and our staff and students to launch the plan is built around those philosophies. What does it mean to be a united school and community, to be an engaged learner, and to be empowered in your journey as a student, as a staff member, as a community member? So that vision statement is something that we're trying to manifest, but we're also trying to live in real time. And our mission, this is just the nuts and bolts of what we do as educators, is to be a school and community that's united in educating and supporting our students, to be engaged and empowered on their personal journeys. And a lot of thought and care went into that statement to ensure that every student could see themselves in the goals of the district, that their personal journey is what we want to honor as they move along. So this next part of the plan is our core beliefs. And whenever you're dealing with students and staff and trying to promote ideals, it's important to have core beliefs that speak to the character of the district. And so we have two wonderful character education programs in our district. At the elementary school, we have PBIS, which is state and nationally renowned. And then at the middle high school, we have the Positivity Project, or P2 as it's called. And so these core beliefs are going to underline those character education programs for our students so that over time, the language we use, the values we share together, we're going to embed that into our discussions with students about character. So for us, when we say we are united, we believe in honoring our past, but embracing our future, in respecting each unique individual's voice. When we say we're engaged, we believe in being respectful, collaborative, and accepting, and in fostering a student-centered environment with a well-rounded, challenging education. And when we're empowered, we believe in developing character, resilience, responsibility, and compassion, and in supporting each individual's unique journey towards personal fulfillment. So those are our 10 commandments, if you will, purely agnostic, nothing related to the baccalaureate policy whatsoever. All right, so then when we talk about setting goals and action steps whereby we measure them, we also have to have some guidelines about how we do this work in a way that brings everyone together. We don't lose people on the journey, and we honor people throughout the process, even if they're in a different place than different members who may be more steeped in this work than others. And so these are our parameters for the work. And really, we have 5 core parameters that we are seeking to operate in as we implement the plan. The first is that we will align our work in the district with the strategic plan to achieve our vision, mission, core beliefs, and strategic intents. Basically, what that means is we're not just creating a document and throwing it on the floor. This is going to be the basis of how we operate as a district. And so anecdotally, if we're approving professional development for a staff member or a staff member seeking out professional development, well, before we get to that step, how does that speak to the goals and values of the plan? So if it doesn't, then we may want to have some dialogue about furthering and amplifying the goals that have been collaboratively created. So that's the purpose of that. The next is that we'll respect the knowledge and experience of those who are closest to the job. So whether it be our transportation fleet, our bus drivers, if we're talking about transportation and routing, we're talking to them about that because they're on the ground, they know that. Same with our cafeteria staff, same with our teachers, and with our students. Ultimately, we're here to serve the students, and getting their voice in the components of the day is vital to ensure that we're doing our job. We know change is necessary to move forward, and we'll be mindful of the impact of change on all shareholders. Mistakes are part of the process and an opportunity to re-clarify our vision. And as we intentionally adopt initiatives, we will effectively manage our resources, time, and capacity, and consider student preferences. So those are our parameters for the work that we're trying to put forth. So once the core team, the nucleus, met and derived those items, we distilled from the surveys the core areas that we wanted additional support, reflection, opinion, and analysis on. And that's where we came up with these task forces to weigh in on academic excellence, innovation, and well-being. And once again, in honor of finding the people closest to the job, our task force for academic excellence was made up of our administrative team and was made up of all of our department leaders across the district. So 14 of the senior departmental leaders instructionally across the district and the admin team. And from this, we set our goals as follows. The first goal is to establish and enhance our academic programs to empower students in their learning. So how are we going to do that? We have a few strategies in place. The first is to implement the testing system that I've been referencing, NWEA with Fidelity, and to use that data to then make informed decisions to better support our students. So that's the first one. So the entire focus academically with regards to the plan for this year is to make sure that we get those 3 data points on our students. And once we have that, we look at them and we set targets for growth for next year so we can have SMART goals that are measurable. So, you know, if our students are showing in a certain grade 55% proficiency on a given standard, then we may set a goal for the next year that they'll achieve 80%. And we'll put steps in place to ensure that we can meet those goals or make a valiant effort to try and do so. The second strategy is to provide opportunities for student choice within unit activities, topics, and different methods for them to demonstrate their learning. So those are the strategies for goal 1. Goal 2 is to foster a culture of reflection, feedback, and goal setting, where staff share meaningful data with students, parents about their learning, and set goals for improvement. And this references, once we have this information about, you know, how our students are learning and where we can support them more, what are we going to do with it, right? And so our goal is to next year implement this system where we're sending these reports out with suggestions for families and students about, you know, ways that student can become stronger in the area, but also acknowledging you're really strong in this particular area and it's a point of pride for your child. So having a system in place for that with the goal of implementing for next year. And then the third goal in the realm of academics is to continue collaborating with our department leaders. This is a relatively new initiative. It's the 2nd year, but the leadership that all of these instructional departmental heads are taking on in conjunction with the administrative team is producing some really good results. So continuing to go in that direction, to collaborate, and to honor the people who are closest to the job. So these are the measurements that we have for goal 1. The measurement initially will just be compiling the data this next year on our students in math and ELA. Our second goal is just to, once we have that data, then to have teams meet to reflect that data and share it out with parents and students. And then we also have some benchmarks in place to make sure that we're keeping the pulse on the work, that we're actually seeing progress. And so there'll be staff and student and family surveys in each of these different task force areas, asking each group to provide feedback on the efficacy of the learning, on how they keep track, on the extent to which a student feels supported by their teacher, and for families, how actively they feel engaged with the student's progress. So we'll track that over the course of the 5 years of the plan. And if the numbers are great, we'll lean into what we're doing. And if they're not, we'll just try new things until we see improvement. And then the third measurement for our goals, establishing our district calendar for vertical department meetings. This is a staff survey where, in addition to actually having these meetings, we work together across grade levels to provide an integrated approach to student learning. We're going to survey the staff each year to see the extent to which they agree with that. When you look at what has the most profound impact on a student's ability to learn and retain information, Teacher collective efficacy is like the top 3 in an indicator of 600. So this is what this work speaks to, basically. If the teachers are all working together towards a common goal and the students are aware of what that is, you see greater learning and greater results. So that's academic excellence. The next task force is about innovation. So thank you to Keith Clark for being co-facilitator of that team. And this task force was comprised of individuals from our tech field, from the science department, from community schools, so a good cross-section. And the goal of this committee is that by 2028, in year 5 of the plan, that we will pose the questions that by 2028, 90% of our staff will respond to agree or strongly agree that Lake Placid is providing an education that prepares students for a changing dynamic world. And that by 2028, 80% of families and students will respond to the same prompt. So we'll be surveying annually to keep track of that. So we're going to foster a classroom environment that's student-centered and a school that provides real-world experiences. We will model environmental sustainability. So even with our purchasing amendment there, that's an opportunity for us to engage our students in preservation of the planet that they intend to habitate. So that's a good thing. And then we have goals that will track the number of teachers who are providing project-based learning for our students. We'll track the number of units that we have. We'll track the number of student internships and apprenticeships we have. We'll track the number of alternate type instruction programs we have to engage students that may not be a typical learner. And we'll meet all of our district technology skills and standards that we have. And the last task force is about well-being for students and staff. And thank you to Amanda Cash for being our co-facilitator of this group. And this was comprised of all of our mental health team, essentially. In addition, we also had a representative from the food service department, which was important. And we had student participants as well. So our goal for our well-being is that 90% of staff will agree or strongly agree that we create a school community where students and staff are united, engaged, and empowered in a safe and respectful environment that promotes wellness for all. And our strategies is to offer opportunities for connection between the school and community vis-a-vis the community schools program, promote student and staff wellness. We currently have a staff wellness day that certainly has a lot of support within our ranks. And how can we do more of those things on a consistent basis to promote wellness amongst our staff? And how can we also embed things for our students so that they can promote their wellness? And the big lift for this team is that during the last 2 years, the New York State Education Department came out with social emotional learning standards. And so we're going to implement those standards with fidelity through our guidance and counseling teams, through our district social worker, our director of people personnel services, and our staff. And there's more survey benchmarks and questions to assure that our families and students feel that the work we're doing towards wellness is contributing to them feeling that they're part of a united, engaged, and empowered school community. And that is the plan.
Excellent.
So thank you very much.
Well, that'll work.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck on the rollout.
I'm excited. I'm not alone. So we've got a great cast of characters in the video. So it's good.
All right, so next up is our issues for discussion. First up is board goals and objectives. First draft.
So on the board behind me is the, it's in the Google Doc. I see Colleen Locke has made some suggestions in it.
Linked in the.
So if you have, can go into that, into your, through your LakePlacidCSD.net email. It's all been shared with you.
All right, so any initial discussion here? Do we have one more discussion
Yes.
and then we vote to accept it. So we have one more discussion.
Is it in August, October, the October meeting? That we adopt?
Yeah, it's when you're ready for it. Because then we have to start tracking our goals.
So over the next coming weeks, just while you guys are ruminating, make sure you make your comments in that Google Doc. And so we will utilize that as a way to work through the board goals, to make additions, edits, maybe give up on some things, I don't know, whatever you guys feel like. Or we've accomplished some things, that's a little more positive. Does anybody have any questions about how we'll do that? All right. If there are no other comments at this juncture, we will continue that work. Anything wrong?
No, I'm just reading and
Scroll.
studying, yeah.
All right. We'll move on to policy first reads. And just to clarify, I don't need to read these policies in their entirety, correct?
You don't have to read them at all.
Thank goodness,
So.
because they are long.
That's
Very
right.
long. I was sweating bullets earlier today when I thought about that. I was like, oh, please tell me.
Text to speech.
Yeah.
So I did provide an overview in the policy committee report. Does anyone have any initial questions about any of these policies or any of the language as proposed by the committee?
I'm here.
So far, so good.
So hearing none, then these will advance to the second policy read. And if there are no concerns or questions at that time, then the board will vote to adopt policies. And once they're adopted, then we'll pour forth regulations internally from the administration to see that they're adhered to.
All right, any other discussion there? If not, we'll move on. 9A is the minutes, that's in consent. Brings us to personnel matters. You made that change, correct, Karen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Recommended action, approve the following items which are included in the consent agenda: 10B, teaching staff appointment; 10C, teaching staff resignation; 10D, teaching staff unpaid leave absence; 10E, appointment of co-chair committee on special education, elementary school; 10F, appointment of co-chair of committee of special education, middle high school; 10G, appointment of the mentor coordinators; 10H, appointment of the winter carnival coordinator; 10I, coaching staff fall 2023. Do I have a motion?
I move it.
Oh. All right, we'll go Ron and then we'll give it to Ryan. For the second.
Okay.
First one.
That's the
Well,
first one.
congratulations.
Six, yes.
Yeah, I didn't include the summary. My apologies for personnel consent. So just some highlights for the public. Congratulations to Thomas Donnelly in his appointment to our English department, filling the position vacated by Kristen Hutchins. So we look forward to working with you in 7th grade ELA. And also we wish Emily Dishner great success in her move to Syracuse and thank her for her years of service to the elementary school in the district. Congratulations to Amy Gotham and Mel Frazier and their appointments as co-CSE chairs. Look forward to the work that they continue to do for the district. Congratulations to Brennan Gotham and Jenny Winch as our mentor coordinators, working with the administration to provide quality mentorship experience for our new educators. And congratulations to Connie Hamaker for her appointment as winter carnival coordinator. Thank you to all of our coaches and to Mr. Burdick and also to Jeff Nemec, who collaboratively in their transition were able to execute a full coaching staff for the fall, which is fantastic. And thanks to our community members for their efforts with regards to that.
Okay, so the only one that we have that wasn't consent is the CSEA Appointment change upon the recommendation, change appointment of Terry Preston from head custodian at the elementary school to custodian assigned to outdoor maintenance effective to August 16th, 2023. Rate of pay will be the hourly rate of $21.18. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, John. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Colleen. All right, any discussion? Not then vote.
I will have to vote abstain as he is a family member.
Excellent, thank you very much. Thank you for your your first abstention.
No.
Just
Just two in a row.
So we have 5 yes and 1 abstain.
John's on the board with the motion, so you guys are doing great. Excellent, thank you, everyone. Next up is our other action items. The approval of the strategic plan. I recommend action upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the strategic plan as per the attached. Do I have a motion?
Make
Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second?
Also,
Thank you,
There we
John.
go.
All right.
we have an active board.
That's right. I like
We're not
it.
doing well.
Yeah. Your old hat said it. All right, is there any discussion, comments, questions? If not, please vote. And thank you to the entire committee and all the staffers and community members and students who participated in making this happen.
6 yes.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, Colleen's not here, so that's it's like 6.
Okay.
I'm sure she would have voted.
Correct.
Next up is 11, the setting of the tax levy and signing of tax warrants. Recommended action to set the tax levy for the Lake Placid Central School District and approve the signing of the tax warrants for the towns of Lake Placid and Wilmington, New York, in order for the district to begin collection taxes on September 1, 2023 through November 2, 2023, based on the information provided to the Board of Education and placed on file with the district clerk. The resolution is attached hereto and made a part hereof. Do I have a motion?
So,
Thank you, Doug. On with the second. Thank you very
Can I
much.
ask you a question while it's
Yes, you may.
on
Go ahead.
the floor? So, Dana, so am I reading this correctly, that the tax rate for this roll would be $6.14 per thousand?
That is last year's.
That's
No,
last year.
it's
Yes.
5.55.
Yeah, it's the 5.5445.
Okay, it went down,
Yeah,
great.
It went down.
Fabulous.
Yeah, if you look at one of the things I included this year that I did not previously is one of the documents, it's the tax rate schedule, excuse me, last one, assessment change. So it shows the difference between last year's total assessments to this year's total assessments.
Okay,
In my 5 years here, the total assessment has gone up every single year. As you know, you guys see
So
your
that's-
assessed values
that's
have
right.
gone up
on
probably
a house
every
sells
single
for $5
year.
million, it's going up.
But because of that, our levy typically goes down
I got it,
because
right.
our levy is staying.
Exactly.
we're not-
The
we're not
rate
seeing
goes
big
down
jumps.
as the assessments go up.
Right,
Yes. Good news, bad situation.
Right. The good news, bad news.
All right.
Look at the good news part.
Any other questions or comments? If not, make sure you vote.
6 yes. And Dan has the tax warrant that everybody has to sign, so please do it before you leave. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just about to.
Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. I could have very easily forgotten. So. Let's see, 11C, club approvals was in consent. 11D and E, textbook approvals was also in consent. 11F, NISBA annual convention approval was in consent. That brings us to 11G. Recommended action, whereas the Lake Placid Central Schools Board of Education Policy 6255 donations, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows: Fidelity charitable donor in the amount of $5,000 for the purpose of student needs fund. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the check as referenced above for the purpose statement. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Colleen.
What is this Fidelity charity? What is that about, Dave? What is that?
It's essentially anonymous donor,
Okay,
just for student needs.
Thank you very much to our generous benefactor, whoever they may be.
okay.
Sarah Mackenzie in that situation.
6 yes.
Thank you, everyone.
And if anybody wants to go to the convention, if you've never been, good deal.
Where's the Syracuse this year?
Yes.
Probably going to travel.
Not New York City.
It's not New York City, no, exactly. But I guess the point is that it's, to, you know, if you want to go, to sign up early enough to get into one of the close hotels is important.
Gotcha. So if anyone has any interest in attending that, please let Karen know. We'll arrange for a limo to get you out. Just kidding, that was a joke.
Using the bus.
Yeah, we'll take
I
it.
love it.
I come along and everything.
All right, that brings us to our second for the good of the cause, where the public may address the board. Do we have any additional emails,
We do not.
any additional comments?
No, but thank you.
No,
Thanks
all right.
for letting me observe.
Of course. That brings us to the adjournment phase of our meeting. Next meeting date and location. The next meeting date will be September 5th. So we're still on our summer schedule of one meeting a week, or a year, sorry.
A month?
A month.
And just a note for the board, and you will receive an email from Karen and I as well, but September 5th is the first day of school for staff coming back. And any board members who would like to come to our opening breakfast at 8, and then the opening of school at 9 o'clock amongst the staff are welcome to do so. And you can watch Dan give his usual comments to keep the crowd lively. So, but you'll receive an email note about it.
Just a question again, which of those meetings are we gonna be voting on the exemptions for the veterans and for the firemen?
The 19th.
The
The
19th.
19th, okay, so we have
Yes.
one in between, okay.
Yeah, because I think, is it?
You have to log 30 days.
Yeah, and we have the like written resolution on the 5th?
We have it now.
Maybe we'll
So we'll
share
put
it.
that in info for the board and,
Yeah, put info for the board, maybe info for the public as well.
I mean, the one hinge point for the volunteer aspect was the 2 to 5 years. So just if the board is comfortable with asserting 2 years in that resolution based on the comments of the individuals who came here.
I think that would be entirely appropriate, so, okay, yeah. Does everyone agree with that? Sound good?
I think as long as you make sure that they're members in good standing, because my worry is that you're gonna have people just sign up and try to be members, they get the exemption and not do anything. And that's coming from somebody who will have to abstain that vote, because I am a member of the volunteer fire department. But I've seen too many people come and go that just want handout. And after 25 years in service, you know, some of us have earned it and still
Yeah.
get up every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, fire calls, and other people just haven't, you know, put their time in. And that's my worry for both parties.
Yeah, I think from what Mike said, it sounds like they have to jump through a number of hoops just to get to the 2-year
It
mark.
has very well changed since I got in 25 years ago.
Yeah, so I think as long as the departments are as rigorous as they are now, that should be a problem. They can weed out the dilly-dalliers. John, did you have a-
Yeah, one thing I particularly like to see for the firemen and the ambulance workers is this gets put in writing. And that would include who is going to implement, make sure that those rosters are correct. In
I
other
believe
words,
it falls to the chief.
well, I just want to see it in writing because
Yeah.
we're essentially giving somebody kind of a carte blanche. And I think it's incumbent upon us that we know exactly what we're voting
Sure.
on. And I don't know who would develop.
The law prescribes that.
Yeah, and
It's already
Todd, the assessor, Todd Anthony will make sure that's all done right.
Well, for
We give him the
example,
data though.
yeah, but for example, all it says is a qualified firefighter. Well, what does qualified mean?
So you have to remember that every member that's a member of the volunteer fire department has to make a certain amount of quota. So for instance, Lake Placid, I have to make 7% of my calls, but I have a 20-year member. Other members have to make 15% of the calls. If they're below that percentage, they're no longer a member in good standing. They're not allowed to go to meetings. They're not allowed to do any of the stuff that a member would benefit from.
Again.
That's already in the bylaws too. It's already
right,
in everybody's.
We're kind of
prescribed.
voting on something that's a top line. It's vague.
Yeah, and
And
I think what we'll do is we'll,
To get that in writing.
in the September 5th meeting, what we'll do is we'll have the full law
Okay.
listed so that we can, everyone can
I'm
see.
gonna get a hold of Todd Anthony and ask him to give it a little skinny. He'll have something on it.
Yeah, perfect.
That's what he does. I mean, that's his job.
Yeah, there's also other resources too. You
Yeah,
can
Veterans
contact
money
VASD.
is much
And they're-
clearer.
they're public permanent.
Previous history.
I'm gonna ask him about it.
The fireman's
This is kind
state
of current,
social.
ongoing.
So you can
Yeah.
contact them. They'll give
Yeah.
you all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, we'll make sure that we have a robust amount of information for that vote.
Perfect.
All of our i's crossed and t's dotted.
Just an aside, I'm looking at this tax stuff. The aggregate assessment in the township in 1 year went up $382 million in 1 year. It's almost $2 billion. I mean, it's $3 billion. It's ridiculous. That's a big number.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All came your way, right?
I do benefit from it. I guess we all do to some extent, and there's also some negatives, so.
All right, so in our old agenda topics, we have civics. Ongoing updates will be provided on how the district is promoting civic responsibility. And then the new agenda topics, does anybody have any? Nope, all right.
Yep.
So then I will move to the adjournment item here. So the recommended action is a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second? John, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Here we go.